Subtle skills, big results.
Welcome to the Ninja Selling Podcast.
Hey everyone, it's your good friend Eric Thompson. This is the Ninja Selling Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. You are in for a treat today because I have two very special people with me. We're going to start with our first guest, who is a ninja. You already know him, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. Joe Robert is here from Rev Real Estate in New Orleans. Hello, Joe. Welcome back.
Glad to be back. I feel like every time I get to come to the mothership, I end up getting to do a podcast. So it's worth coming every time.
Right. We'll talk about the fact that we're all together now. We'll talk about what he means by the mothership. What you need to know, if you don't know already, this is Joe's third time as a guest on the podcast. Joe, you told me that the last time you were a guest, after the last time you were a guest, you received 200 emails.
Yeah, somewhere in the ballpark.
Somewhere in the ballpark of 200 emails from the Ninja Nation. Let's see if we can beat that this go around.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Let's do it.
The goal is we're gonna do a new goal, a reaching goal with 300 emails. Let's do it.
300 emails. So there you go, Ninja Nation. If you're up to the challenge, get ready for a full inbox.
Totally.
And the reason why you had all those emails is because you gave great takeaways, and you're going to do that again, I know. Our other guest today is Joe's coach. It's Ninja Coach Mark Johnson is here. Mark, welcome back to you.
Well, thank you. Happy to be here and excited to be here this time. I was a little vacation last time, so I wasn't able to be in the room, but it was a fantastic podcast after I caught it there.
Yeah, absolutely. So you are here with us. So everyone needs to know, but I think you've already figured out that we're here together in the same room. We're taking advantage of the fact that Joe and Mark are here in Fort Collins, Colorado for the 3-day live leadership workshop. Joe is here learning, getting lots of takeaways. Mark is here because he is one of our 3 certified leadership coaches. He is specialized to work with people in a leadership role. So Mark, that's why you're here. And we said, you know what? We're here together. We should do a podcast. Joe was telling me just the other day about some things that he's doing in his business that are new since the last podcast. We want to share those with you. The two of you were just telling me, the two of you have been working together for now 4.5 years. You've been in a coaching relationship. It's fun to know and see the results. The first year working together, Joe, you and your business partner more than doubled your business. You are getting great results. You're on an amazing trajectory. You are an avid ninja. I think you've attended pretty much everything that we have to offer. You're in ninja coaching. So you are all in, and that's certainly working for you. And so what everyone needs to know is that today's theme is going to be all about the hot warm list. And the hot warm list is the theme in February. We have a theme in ninja coaching every single month. We have a theme that we bring into our content. That's the theme of this podcast. So this is going to be all about how to build a hot warm list in some really effective ways, and also how to leverage the hot warm list. Joe, you were telling me just the other day about the numbers, about the volume that you have on your hot warm list. Can we start with that? Like, give us an idea, give us a snapshot of what's happening in your hot warm list. How much volume is sitting there?
Yeah. So what's sitting in our hot and warm list right now with active listings that are on the market, listings that we have signed, not yet launched, hot and confused, and warm. Altogether, I believe, is a little bit over $23 million sitting in our hot and warm list right now.
So here we are at the very end of January with $23 million of volume sitting there between the hot confused, the warm list. Mark, in a moment, I'm going to have you help with the definition of those, if that's all right. And Joe, you told me that a few months ago, it didn't look like that. I mean, it wasn't empty, but you've seen a jump in that, correct? And we'll get into
absolutely, yeah, absolutely,
yeah. So there's been a jump in that. So why don't we, Mark? Let's help people out just in case they need a reminder. Maybe someone for the first time is hearing the definition of okay. So what's a hot list? Hot and confused. What's that? And then also, what's a warm list? Can you help us real quick with a definition of those?
Well, then there's 2 versions of it right there. If you've been to the installation, you come out of there with the hot list is people that say, hey, Eric, I think you're going to be moving this year, probably this fall, right? So there's kind of a timetable of there's an action they're going to take, buy or sell, usually within about 3 to 6 months. I say a little bit because in coaching, and we'll stretch it a little bit because sometimes I might say 9 to 12 months, which we might push out, which we'll talk a little bit further about when we want to connect with them. So I usually kind of say if they're there, ready to go, they tell you they're going to buy or sell within the next 6 to 9 months, start with them on the hot list and let's cultivate where they're going to go. The warm list is a lot of times people don't know they're going to buy or sell, but because of their life changes, when we're making our conversations, when we're going to coffee or lunches and doing real estate reviews, we know there's some pain or pleasure there on one of those life changes, and we'll put them on the warm list so we can be actively ready to make sure we're in flow with them at the right time. We don't let them go too far.
Okay.
And then the new one that some of us is the hot and confused is they think they're warm, but we know they're hot because the pain or pleasure is at a point where if we can help them find clarity, they're going to make a decision sooner than later. So we need to figure out how to help them move to the hot list because in their mind, they're on the warm side.
Got it. So there's actually a third category. It's hot and confused. But what Mark just shared about the warm list is a big, big takeaway about the warm list. And it's a nuanced takeaway. It's very important. And that is there are people on the warm list, absolutely, who have not said explicitly that they are going to buy or sell in the near future, but you can see life change happening. You can see pain and pleasure that maybe they've expressed that pain and pleasure, things happening in their life, and you can foresee a potential change. Those people need to be on the warm list. And just because they have not said, hey, I think in a year or two, we want to do something, just because they haven't said that should not prevent you from putting them on the warm list.
Exactly.
Yeah. People don't always raise their hand when they need help, but a great teacher knows the ones that do.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And it's really up to us to be in front of that so we can be in a better position to help them. Okay. So we're going to get into now. So how do you build a hot warm list that looks like Joe's? And Joe, you attended recently our new 2-day workshop called Ninja Now. And I believe, tell us when you attended that, just to give us an idea.
I believe it was in the later spring, early.
Ninja Now was August.
So
we're here now.
Sorry, it was cold here, so I always just thought it was spring, but I forget that it can still get cool here during the summer.
Okay.
I'm used to 120-degree tropical weather, you know.
So you attended our new live 2-day workshop called Ninja Now. That was in August. So just a few months ago. And tell me what you told me as your number one takeaway from that 2-day live workshop.
Yeah. So again, everything, there's always something that's like worth the price of admission. If you can get the one nugget that's going to transform your business. And for me this time, it was, using social media to pull information about your people who you love's lives, about the people that are in your sphere, about the people that are on your database, because it's much easier to make those calls and connect with them if you're connecting with them through that, instead of pushing out, hey, I had this great month of production, I did this. It's better to be interested than interesting, right? So no one really cares that you did 3 million in production in the month of February, but what they do care about is that you called them and asked them about how that private cooking class that they did for 45 people, and that was their first time doing it. They care about, their son's karate class and karate lesson and getting his blue belt, right? Those are the things that they care about. They care that you're interested in their lives.
Yes, absolutely. So you told me that your strategy is to pull, not push, and all that means is you're pulling information from social media. You said that you're combing social media for that kind of information. So what does that look like for you? Is there a day of the week that you focus on doing that? Is it every day of the week that you're doing that? What's the process that's running behind that strategy?
So I think that social media is so immediate, right? That if you do it every week, you'd be woefully prepared to be a part of people's lives. Unfortunately, we're all on our phones all the time. And so I think that time blocking and making sure that you have a time every day that that you're going to go through and look at it actively so you can keep up with what people are putting out there, because you may miss something, but you also shouldn't just be on social media all day as a crutch to doing anything else.
Right. So don't let it consume you. You time block it. That would be the strategy. So it really every day would be the way to go, because it's an immediate thing, like you said. And so do you have a handwritten list that you make as you're going through social media, or is it just mental notes of the karate blue belt, for example? How do you do that?
So you can actually resort social media for people who follow you or you follow, instead of it just being the algorithm that the social media provides, like meme accounts and all these different things. And I love classic cars, so it will just fill my feed with classic cars because it knows that that's the algorithm I like. But if you refilter, there is a refiltering piece where you can go just the people who are following you, and then you get a fully customized feed of people who know you, like you, and trust you, that hit the follow button, that want to know more about your life. So you need to return that favor and look into and be interested in their lives as well.
Got it. Got it. Fantastic. Okay, so what do you do then? So you see the person whose child just got the blue belt in karate. Then what? What do you do next?
So yeah, instead of, going on there and sending them a private message or liking it and commenting on it, I will just put that down on my list of the live interactions that I'm supposed to have. We're supposed to be, talking with 50 people a week and making sure that we're involved in their lives. So that helps me fill out those conversations that I'm going to have. And I just give them a call and I just say, hey, I saw on Instagram that, Justin just went for a blue belt, made it. Super exciting, crazy. You're raising just a wild man who's really disciplined and knows where he wants to go. Like, tell me about it. Was it great? How's he feeling? How are y'all feeling? And then you just build a conversation. And that whole thing is just based around what you found out on social media. I think a lot of people have a misconception that if I'm looking on social media and then I call you, it's an odd thing. But really all it is just showing interest, right? It's removing the smoke and mirrors. It's taking something online and moving it into real life. And I think that people do enjoy real life conversations, and it makes you one of their advocates, that they know that you're involved in their life and you want what's best for them. I mean, right now, easiest thing you can do, and I'm sorry that I'm on this right now, everyone's daughter is selling Girl Scout cookies. I don't eat 20 boxes of Girl Scout cookies a year, but I buy 40 and I give them away to friends and clients. I say, you like Thin Mints, right? And I give them away. Why would I not support multiple families, kids, right? And then I see that they're doing it. I don't respond online. I say, hey, Laura, Inez is selling Girl Scout cookies. I'd love to buy some. And it's because I genuinely care about her and her family. I'm not just doing it to do it. Like, those are some of my best friends. Why would I not want to support their lives?
Yes. Right? Okay. Speaking of worth the price of admission, that little nugget you just shared about Girl Scout cookies is worth the price of admission. I would hope for everyone listening and committing some time to listen today. That is so good. But quite simply, what you're doing, Joe, is you notice something on Facebook or any social media platform, or you reach out to them and say, hey, I noticed that. Congratulations, or tell me more about that. That's one of our go-to phrases within Ninja. And tell me more about that. People love to be noticed. They love to be cared for. They love to talk even more about the things that they really care about. And how often have we heard that phrase? Gosh, thanks for asking. Mm-hmm. Thanks for noticing. That's all this is. This is the opposite of pushy. It's the opposite of salesy. You're just noticing. You're just caring. You also told me yesterday when we were speaking about this that there are some people in your sphere that are not phone call people. And we all know those kind of people. And over time, you've gotten an understanding of who those people are. What do you do with them? So you know that they're not phone call people. You're not going to call them. So what do you do instead?
Yeah, so I've done kind of a new thing. It's another thing that I kind of saw from one of the agents in Ninja Now. You call and you leave a message and you always want to let them know that there's no urgency to call back. They were just on your heart. They were on your mind. So you wanted to talk to them. But sometimes even doing that, people just have anxiety talking on the phone. They're just not phone people. So what I do is I remove the pressure and I send a video text message just saying, hey, I know that you're super busy. I know that you're preparing for this or this. Just wanted to send you a quick message, video message, because I wanted to say how pumped I am for you that you're doing this private dinner for over 150 people. I know that that's something that you've been preparing for a while. I know that this is going to be a big exposure event for you, and it's really going to make a lot of sense. And a lot of people are going to love it. I just want to say I'm proud of you, super pumped for you. If you have time, maybe let's get together afterwards, and you can talk me through what that was like, what the experience was.
Got it. So it's a quick video message sent by text. I can only imagine the response back that you get by text. Oh, thanks so much for the message. Great to hear from you. And then away you go. That's likely setting up some live interaction.
Yeah, and I was just at a party where she said, "Oh my goodness, I forgot." She's like, I'm trying to get better, so I want to start sending you video messages. I made 3 of them, and I was like, none of these are good. I'm going to see him tonight at the party. I'm just going to talk to him about it. And she said she was so thankful for it that she showed it to her husband. She showed it to several of her friends. She was like, look at my friend and realtor and how much he cares about our life. Isn't this great? And I'm just like, that made me feel good that she's saying this out to people at a party as a part of conversation. I did not bring it up. So it's impacting people, and you can see.
Yeah, absolutely. So Mark, one tool that we have in coaching is called the weekly meeting agenda, where the coaching client sends us a weekly report, a weekly snapshot of what's happening in their business. So I'm curious, from your perspective, watching these weekly meeting agendas and just being tuned into Joe's business, what have you noticed over the last couple months since these new strategies that have come about? What's been your perspective on what's been happening with Joe's business?
Well, I think Joe's so good about getting the stuff ahead of time so we can coach, make the call a lot more productive. And he sends his weekly agenda. He'll send a snapshot of their calendar, so we can kind of see where they're at. But the biggest thing is seeing the increase in his hot and warm list since then. I mean, you could progressively see the actions are working, which is getting the results, right? And it's funny how TSW, right? The system works when you work the system. But I think Joe has such a genuinity about how he does it. It's not about him making sure he hits his numbers. It's about how many people can I affect. It's about me making sure they know that they're cared for. The numbers take care of themselves. But I think, it comes through in his conversations and comments on his weekly agendas of the activities he's doing.
That's right. That's such a good point. It's not about the numbers. I mean, of course, the numbers count when you add them all up. It's not, maybe a better way to say it is, it's not about just checking boxes. There are boxes to check on the weekly meeting agenda. As you achieve each of those 50 live contacts, you can check a box. But it's not about that. It's about the interaction. It's about the relationship. It's about the other person and making everything so relevant to them.
Yeah, we're in class today. We were just kind of a reminder. Joe mentioned, we moved the mindset a while back. You mentioned it down there. Instead of 60 or 70 transactions, is 60 or 70 families that we're going to serve this year.
Yeah,
it's not 50 contacts. It's 50 people I get to have conversations with.
Right.
Yeah, changing your mindset and incorporating that into your DNA is, I think, the most important thing, because everybody's like, oh, I had 30 million in production this year. Okay, well, how many families were able to move, and how many families were able to take the next step in their life? I will tell you, if you put that out as a strategy where you're not actually pushing, right? Because pushing is, I sold 30 million this year, but really pulling people in too is a part of it as well. Saying, I was able to help 70 families move this year thanks to our tribe, the people who care about us. And it's the only reason why we're in business. And so that pulls more people into your gravity there too. So that's another part of the pull strategy. Do things that are going to engage with people instead of just saying how cool you are all the time.
Yes, at 100%. Absolutely. Okay, so another strategy that's working for you to build your hot warm list, and this is great. This is powerful. This is also fun. Well, I don't want to steal the thunder, Joe. Tell us the name of this weekly strategy that you're now doing.
Yeah, so it's, matching Mondays, but what we call is mansion Mondays, because it doesn't matter the size of the house. Like, this is someone's mansion. This is their home that they care about. This is as important of a decision that they're going to make. And so what it is it's matching the houses with our people who may be on the warm list, who may be on the hot and confused list. If we can help give them clarity, this is one of the biggest things. One of our clients right now that we have under contract that we've been talking about, we just sent the inspection response in yesterday while I was here at this installation. Brett was so good about consistently sending them houses each Monday saying, hey, if this is a house, this is you as a house, right? It checks all your boxes. It looks amazing. Or, hey, I'm thinking outside of the box on this one. Maybe maybe I'm completely off base, but would this be something that you would consider, in your search? And just slowly building, that buy-in, that belief, and then that help through always thinking of them. Because the simple act of just saying, hey, I was thinking of you. You told me that you were on this journey, and I'm always thinking about you when I'm looking through the MLS.
Got it. Okay, so everyone, it's Matching Monday, and they've had fun with that name, and they've evolved it into Mansion Monday, and I think it's actually in plural, Mansion Mondays. And so, by the way, Brett is Joe's business partner, as you heard Joe mention Brett. And so what you're doing is every Monday, you are looking to match properties, likely properties recently on the market, with people. matching them with people on your hot list, people on your warm list. I'm guessing too that you may go over and above that where, hey, this house made me think of you. Did you see that this house just came on the market? So you're matching properties with people. And okay, so that's done by email and then also a follow-up call, or what does that look like specifically?
Yeah. So typically what we do is we take it out of the email format. Brett is a big text person and he loves communicating via text, and that's fine, but we like to use text and then turn it into a phone call, right? So we're giving them something of value and then following up on it, right? So we have the One Home is in our MLS. Most of the time you can go to the app that you have, you can pull up the property that you found on your computer in the app and it'll send you a text format. So it's coming from your portal versus Realtor, right? So that it's just self-directed back to you. And you say, hey, I was thinking about you today. This new house just came on the market. It's just a crazy, crazy awesome house. I just couldn't think of anybody else but you when I saw this. I just thought you needed to see it. And then they'll say, oh my God, that's so great. And then, hey, do you have, you have five minutes to talk later today just to catch up? Because again, this made me think of you and I just realized it's been a little bit since we talked. And then you call them. And I think sometimes receiving the permission before you call with certain clients it's a great thing, right? Because people don't say no often, or if they do, it's because they are busy and you can actually schedule a call and have those, things work out. These are just strategies that we use, but we found that they're super, super impactful.
Yeah, impactful because they're so genuine and it's based only on that other person. You also make it fun. I love that line that you shared a little bit ago. If you were a house, you would be this house. That's super fun.
Yeah.
Do you have like a goal each week for how many matches that you want to make, or is it more organic than that?
So for me, it's really just driven by the hot and the warm list. It's also based on, what I'm pulling off of social media and all of those sorts of things, right? So like there's a couple of people that are just like, we're busting at the seams. We just had another kid, but we really still love this house. And it's like, you can see the pain building, right? And so every now and then, just as like a fun little jab of like, hey, that 2-bedroom with 2 kids, how's that working out? Because there's one right down the street that has the exact same vibe, but it's got an extra bedroom, and just testing that out and be like, oh my God, I was looking at that. I was like, oh, you've been looking at houses on the search that we set up a while back for you, just as kind of a gathering information speed for you. And they're like, yep, that's one of the houses that I like. I'm like, okay, tell me about it, right? Tell me why.
Yes.
So
yeah, perfect. Okay, Mark. So we know these strategies are going to work because this stuff works. And so oftentimes what we see is people are getting names onto their warm list, but then they say, well, so now what? What am I supposed to do now? Now this person's on the warm list. What's next? So can you help us with that on ways that you coach your clients on what to do next once a client gets on or it's a person gets on the warm list?
Get in there. Well, and Joe just revised or down there. What's our Ninja 9 is, right? Number 4 and 5 is our hot and warm list daily. Is they've got a really robust hot and warm list. Is trying to break that down into say it's 4 or 5 people each day. You got to ask yourself some questions. Why are they on my warm list? Like what's causing the pain or pleasure? The people that were busting out at the seams. You're not going to call up and say, hey, Joe, hey, you guys ready to move? The house not working for you? They're not going to be picking it up. Right. And so what's knowing why they're on the list, what's causing the pain or pleasure? What is the next step? Maybe it's a mindset step or maybe it's an action step. I think that client, when, a lot of times with coaching, I'll just sit on there some of our calls and we'll go through some of the hot and warm list together as an outside perspective. I think that one client was, what would the next thing be? Let's put them on a property search for the property they have, but also put them on the property search for the one they're in. So something new comes up on the market that's in the neighborhood, active, pending, or sold. Say, hey, Eric, I didn't realize the market's that hot in our neighborhood because they're not seeing it. Mm-hmm. And it kind of puts them in the perspective of where they're at with it. So first we got to know why they're on the list, what's causing the pain or pleasure, and then what action step could help move them towards the pleasure or move them away from pain. And it could be, hey, Eric, that house that you guys were talking about in the one neighborhood, there's a house just like it that popped up. Would you like to go look at it for fun? I know you guys might not be ready yet. You said you're a couple years out or a year out, but, no harm in looking, right? And next thing you know is, hey, this really works for us, right? And so I think that next step is where people kind of get locked up into it.
Yeah, and I mean, the only thing to add to it is like, just because it's fresh on our mind, right? There's always, again, price of admission, right? Every time we have a call, there's always one thing at take. And that's why it's so important to have a coaching relationship if you're going to be a successful agent. And we were just talking to Mark a while back and saying like, hey, we just had this like great conversation with some people we did a real estate review, kind of said, hey, the magic wand conversation. They're like, oh, actually, magic wand, perfect scenario. We don't want to be in the city anymore. We love this house. We just don't want to be in the city. We want to be on more land. We have 2 dogs. We want to have at least an acre. And we're thinking the easiest way to do that is to be over on the North Shore, right? So we want to be over there where we want to have a little bit more room in the house, but more importantly than the house itself, we want more room around the house. I was like, okay, that's fantastic. And I was like, what's kind of changing this and evolving this for you? And they said, well, whenever we bought this house, I had this job, she had this job. We're making 3 times more money. So that triggered me to say, selling this house is not high on their priority list. Because what did they tell me first? I love the house. I don't want to be in the city. So you can separate yourself and say, okay, let's talk about that. So, Mark just kind of told me, well, what you do with that information is you set them up on a search over on the North Shore. I said, well, they're not buying. He was like, it doesn't matter. They're going to get the information one way or the other. Would you rather them get it on Zillow and go with the Zillow agent to see it one weekend? Or would you rather them call you because something became interesting to them? And then you can do the buyer's process. So, well, why are you looking? Why are you reaching out? And then you do the buyer's process. You make sure that you're screening out anything else. So they're not Goldilocksing it and just picking one property and hoping for the best. And then you commit to it. The other thing he told me was, remember the question that we have you thought about creating, like using your house as part of your wealth building? And so we said both of those things. And they said, you know what? We would love to make this a rental. I said, huh, and they said, actually, this is a house we want to go see. And we are under contract on it right now. And it is going through inspections at the moment. Things are looking good. And we are going to be putting their house up for rent as soon as they move into that one. So there you go.
It's such a good story. And there's so many great ninja takeaways embedded in there. One of which you got really focused on that person, whereas someone with an agent with a transaction mindset would say, oh, that's a listing. I should list that house. And what you realize is, no, it's not about them selling that house. It's about where they want to go. And they have the money, they have the income to go purchase another property probably without selling this one. You saw that. And then Mark helped you to realize that it would be perfectly okay to offer a search to them, even though you hadn't taken them through the buyer process yet. You told me that used to be your mindset, that someone only gets set up on a search after they have gone through the buyer process. So Mark helped you to see like a different perspective on that.
Because the search can lead to the buyer's process.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, oh, what a simple way to reframe that. How idiotic was I before to think that I had to protect the search? The search is the least important part, right? You're protecting the process, not the search itself, right?
Yes.
So, and I think that's great. And I think that that's just that old school MLS mentality, right? It's like Zillow exists now. Realtor exists now. Redfin exists now. They're going to find the information regardless. But if it has your touch and it looks like it's guided from you, it's going to make them feel better that you're involved in the process and you're their advocate, because that's what people want, is someone to advocate for them.
Always.
Yeah, and I think also what people forget is that person has other people they know going through the same situation, and 2 to 4, opportunities in the next 12 months, somebody's got to be asking them about it. And because Joe's doing this, he's top of mind, and they may not be ready yet, but Eric's family might be ready yet because, hey, you should talk to Eric. He just sent us his house down the street. He really knows what's going on in the market. And I think that's that other nugget. If you got 20 people in your warm list, you got 40 to 80 people that's sitting out there, a referral potential by the more value we add for those people. And I think that's a uncharted territory for many people.
Absolutely.
And you have exploited that. I mean, you guys have got so many referrals from people because of your relationships with them.
One of the highest outbound referral teams in our entire company. And inbound referrals too seem to come a lot because people trust us to take care of the process. And the other thing too, digging down even deeper into that transaction, it's a single family home they want to keep, right? Now they're thinking of it as a part of their wealth plan. They're going to find out in about 2 or 3 years, maybe single family isn't quite what, I thought it was for building our wealth plan. But now I've been away from the house long enough that I've increased the equity in the home. So maybe I now use that untapped equity to actually buy something that's going to produce the income to take care of the lifestyle that I want to live, what I want to live, and that's the biggest thing. If you're always tuned into the people and helping them, and you never forget their why and what got them there, and you record your forward, which we were talking about before we hopped on, then you're going to know when to reach out to them and when it's appropriate to try to help them out with that next step.
Exactly. Well, Joe, you have delivered once again, a 3-time guest. We so appreciate that. We promised takeaways. I think that we delivered. What do you think, Mark?
I think he's hitting 300 emails. I think.
Let's get up to 300 emails, please. I want my inbox flooded.
Yeah. So it's Joe Robert with Rev Real Estate, REVE, in New Orleans. We're going to ask people if they do want to email him, they're going to have to research that on their own. We don't want to make it too easy for everyone. So go research Joe. It'll be well worth your while. So Joe, thank you again for being here. We so appreciate it.
Thank you always for having me and like letting us be a part of this process. It's just an amazing thing.
It's amazing to have you here and amazing to have you share always and share to the extent that you do. It's very giving of you. You're a go-giver in every sense. Mark, thank you for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's always fun. Get to hang out with you, get to hang out with Joe. I don't think, we'd love to do this more if we could, but we need to do it more. But it's fun to just kind of going on there. You gave us a really good tool when we did our little coaching group at the beginning of the year of, find out the 5 characteristics you want in a coaching client coming forward. Joe's coachable, Joe's investment mindset, Joe's humble. He takes, he takes the stuff and does it even sometimes. And next thing you know, he spins it and he makes it work, and so, some of those things he's focused on other people to kind of create an opportunity, so he kind of fits the perfect coaching client. So it makes it easy
for you.
So
He's an
thank you
ideal
for
client.
inviting us on.
Yeah, we went through an exercise where we asked all of our coaches to just identify the characteristics of their ideal client. I would encourage everyone listening to do the same thing. Identify the characteristics of your ideal client. And Mark, you get to work with Joe and Brett, 2 ideal clients. Again, it was Mark Johnson, Ninja Coach. I've been your host, Eric Thompson. I'm president of Ninja Coaching, and we are so appreciative of all of you who engage with this podcast on a frequent basis. It means the world to us. Keep the feedback coming. Keep the ideas coming on things that you would like us to cover. We appreciate it. So thank you again for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you on the next podcast. Take care.